Now comes the time to talk about South Park. Before we talk about this week's episode, there's a few things to go over. When we last covered South Park, we talked about all the, the financial deals that were made over the years. We talked about Paramount banning a bunch of episodes. We talked about the promo that came out for season 27 a few months back. So there's a few things to correct on the record. One is that promo we learned from a Comic-Con panel with Trey and Matt was fake. They were asked to do a promo to show that new episodes were coming. The one that was like, blame Canada. They just threw that together with like fake sequences. Times have changed. There were a lot of fans that were actually kind of bummed. They were like, oh, I really wanted to know, like, why, that Butters was a air traffic controller. Why is Kyle turning into a chicken? And there was like P. Diddy in space, All of South Park was on fire. That was kind of interesting. There's a lot of, like interesting visuals in it. But anyway, it was all fake. And Trey had a really funny thing to say about it. He's like, well, yeah, we put that out and people were like, oh, they don't care anymore. They're just banking episodes. And it was like, when have we ever done that? When have we ever like gotten ahead on an entire season? It's never going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen.
You seriously think we went and made a bunch of shows ahead of time and we're like banking them for later? Like, we've never done that. So we just made something up and we're like, this is what we're doing. And we're not doing any of that. None of that's like.
We learned that. So now I'm left being like, I don't know why everybody was saying that there were banned episodes on Paramount. Because it turns out, like, Not Without Matt Anus and all those other episodes we named, they are, in fact, all there, minus the Muhammad ones. There's 4 Muhammad ones. There's 200, 201, Cartoon Wars Part 1, Cartoon Wars Part 2. Those are not there, and Super Best Friends. But after that, they're all intact. Maybe it was temporary? I don't know.
But apparently in the UK, where South Park is already on Paramount Plus, 15 episodes of the show are not available on the streaming service, which is 10 more than the 5 they've removed from HBO Max and the syndication rotation.
And the theory that was out there was it was anti-Jewish stuff, and we said that on the pod. And if you watch back, we qualified the fuck out of it. We were like, this is what we heard, maybe. And then we went through the episodes and we were like, I don't really know how that one fits that theory. And we were just talking about it like that. Oh yeah, there was a theory about this that I was watching where any episode that has like really overt anti-Jewish or anti-Israel sentiment, Paramount doesn't want on the platform. And somebody went through and they were like, I think, they had a theory for like every episode. We're like, in this one, Cartman really oversteps the Jewish thing here. That's the theory. I don't know how true it is. Well, there's really just one guy in the comments that was very like, you can't say that. And I was like, I didn't say it.
That's the theory. I don't know how true it is.
Trey and Matt were on a Comic-Con panel right after the first episode aired, the Trump episode. Normally those guys just do their own panel. But this time, some genius said, let's bring Mike Judge up.
Oh.
That's pretty fucking great, right? And then they're like, and Andy Samberg. That'll be our 4th guy. Now, look, no hate for Andy Samberg. It's because he has this new cartoon show on Comedy Central called Dig Man, and they're all Comedy Central guys at this point because Beavis and Butthead is on Comedy Central. Look, Dig Man is not.
It's not.
And even Andy himself, who of course has his own, his own career and stuff. But Mike Judge and Trey Parker and Matt Stone, you'd put them up there with like George Carlin and, Lenny Bruce. Like you'd put them up there with like these are like titans of comedy, not just for like animated shows, but like comedy generally.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really great to see them. And they were, they had a lot of funny things to say across the hour or so. Like, they were asked a question about, have you ever considered, doing, or have you ever been pitched like live action South Park or live action Beavis and Butthead? And Mike was like, yeah, lots of times. And he didn't mention Step by Step. Step by Step had a bunch of live action.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You remember that?
Oh,
that's strange.
It's like coming back to me very rapidly.
Beavis and Butthead was so part of the zeitgeist, they could just show up in sitcoms. I remember that. Or he said, they were like, when did you first realize that like you had really penetrated the culture? And he was like, I remember I was watching that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, True Lies. And he was like, I'm traveling here with Beavis and Butthead.
He's like, I've got the Beavis and Butthead following me, and like, whoa.
And he was like, oh, wow. Arnold Schwarzenegger said my characters' names. They asked, like, do you ever get recognized? And Trey was like, actually, I just walked the floor with my daughter for like an hour and nobody said anything. It's like a few people came up and said, hey, man, like, thanks. That was about it. And Mike Judge was like, I think I have a very forgettable face because I remember I went on Letterman and Beavis and Butthead was really controversial. And I worried, maybe I'm going to get accosted or something. And then the next day, nobody recognized me. And I thought, like, didn't nobody see the show last night? Have you ever done a voice to get an early dinner or something? And he's like, I remember one time I was clearing my throat, like, and people were like turning their heads.
All I did was clear my throat. I just went, and someone turns around without seeing, goes, Mike Judge, you sound like, it sounded like Beavis.
I felt bad for Andy Samberg, and he called it out several times. He was like, I don't think I belong on this stage.
It is pretty amazing for me to be on here for my show that just aired the first episode of the second season with them. But
anyway, back to South Park. This $1.5 billion deal. Mm-hmm. People have been saying, well, wait a minute. If you do the math, 50 new episodes, $1.5 billion, that's $30 million an episode. That's fucking crazy.
That is crazy. Yeah, somebody said it was like $20,000 a second or something.
$22,000 a second. Now, it's a little bit of a misnomer because you're not just paying for the 1.5 doesn't just pay for 50 new. It's paying for 350 old, So if you were to divide the cost across 400 episodes, let's say, maybe you'd get down to 10,000. I don't know. $5,000 a second for this whole series. And then there was a lot of controversy online, I would say, after the first episode. There's just been a lot of discussion, and now this new one, same thing, about targets and how best to make fun of targets. And this, Trey and Matt have always advertised themselves as equal opportunity. It's either okay to make fun of everybody or nobody. That's always been their kind of ethos.
There can't be a line, because that's the problem. As soon as you draw a line, that's when you really do become evil in what you're doing. Because if you're saying, well, we can make fun of this, and this, but we won't make fun of this, it's like, then why is it okay to make fun of all this, And so it's like, if you're saying, well, I'll make fun of black people, but I won't make fun of Mexicans, it's like, well, then you shouldn't make fun of black people. It's like, just like, if you're going to make fun of everything, or you're going to make fun of nothing. And it's just like, and I think that's right. Why the show works without people getting too incensed.
And so now that they're taking like really heavy aim at Trump, people are going, well, wait a minute, what happened to Biden? What happened to Kamala Harris? You never made fun of them. They were never even mentioned on your show. But you did That's My Bush. And, so maybe you're not as equal opportunity as you say. Is it true that they never made fun of Biden? Yes. Is it true that Biden has things to make fun of? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, could South Park do an amazing Biden episode? I'm sure.
These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass.
I don't buy it that they didn't do it because they were like, we best not. That's the man we vote for.
Yeah, and also, like, you look at, like, what they were releasing during that time. It didn't seem like they had, like, a ton of things that they released. And it was like COVID.
They did those specials. They did, like...
Those specials and COVID
the Ozempic
happened.
One, and they did the Kathleen Kennedy one. And, yeah, they during the Biden administration, they didn't make a whole lot of South Park, truthfully. And then I think another thing that people don't really understand... And again, you can critique this and it's all fair, but like, they're not making memes. You know what I mean? They're not doing sketches. The format, for better or worse, is narrative. They have to come up with a story, and they have to use their characters, and they have to have character arcs for their, you know what I mean?
What we try to do on the show, what's important for like a narrative show where you're trying to tell stories, is we always try to make it feel like, where are those guys coming from? You know what I mean? And a lot of times we'll do shows with moral kind of points of view that we don't necessarily agree with.
It just makes a better story.
It just makes a better story.
The story's got to take precedent.
And so, and as we know about their writing, they kind of start there. So they have something to say maybe about the culture or whatever, and then they're telling that story through their characters. And so I think in the writer's room, it starts with like, okay, Cartman's feeling this way or whatever. And so if it doesn't land in the thing that you want them to skewer, then it just doesn't. And I just think after 27 fucking years of this show, I think it's absurd to be like, they're secret partisans. Because even Trump, I think they really pulled their punches on Trump until now. And even now, I'm like, I don't even know that they're making fun of like anything all that Like you could go after a lot of other things.
It doesn't
too.
even feel like Trump. It's like some other thing.
Like JD Vance, they just made him a little gremlin,
yeah, they made him. Yeah, somebody was like, "Oh, we're doing a riff on Fantasy Island." That's really relevant. It's like,
yeah. If anything, it's like the thing I would want to critique is like they didn't really make. If in fact they care about narrative so much, I feel like the narratives are not coming together in these episodes.
They went really hard on Kristi Noem, but that was what I thought was funny.
Yeah, she's such a fucking clown.
Because she's fucking weird. She like wrote a book where she like hated her dog, and she was like, "Oh, it's biting people. I'm so glad I'm gonna like go out and shoot it in the head and the back." And it's like it's weird because she's like kind of bragging about it, and
But probably a ghostwriter wrote it, and that person was the one that really kind of like.
But she owned it.
And there was something that they didn't make fun of it in this, but there were in her book, I guess she recounted like some encounter she had with Kim Jong-un where she like spoke down to his ass or something. And then they're like, "You never met Kim Jong-un," and she was like, "It was an example of the kind of leadership that I exhibit."
Your spokesman told Politico that the world leaders' names were conflated in the book. What does that even mean?
What it means is that I've met with many world leaders, many of them.
Did you meet with Kim Jong-un?
Some of them are in the book, and some of them are not in the book.
Clearly, if you're taking it out of the book, it's because it's untrue.
I've given you my answer, no, and that's not the answer.
Why is everyone so fucking stupid?
She's a weird person, so I think that stuff landed really well in this episode, especially because like I went on a flight recently, and now she's like on monitors when you're going through security. She's like, because of Homeland Security. It's like, and I'm thinking of like, because they put the box under her so she can like step one foot on it and pose. And I was just like kind of dying with her fake curls. And it's like, oh.
For the fucking record, before anybody's like, these guys are partisan progressives now that they've made fun of Donald Trump, I would just like to remind everybody of the times that South Park was accused of being extremely conservative, libertarian, times that they straight up said they were libertarian.
Politics. Are you a libertarian?
That's a great question.
What does that mean?
I think that there is a...
He believes in liberty.
Yeah, I believe in liberty.
Are you?
It's possible.
You're not going to put you in jail for this.
Yeah. It's a difficult question because...
Why is it difficult?
Because it's...
It's like saying, are you...
It's like, are you gay? It's like, a little.
The Kathleen Kennedy one, put a chick in it, make her gay, right? Making fun of diversity, DEI stuff. Smuggler. You remember the smug one when there was all the libs of San Francisco were sniffing their
right, yep.
With hybrid cars? How many times with Al Gore and climate change? And 2 days after, the day after tomorrow, and they're like walking outside and like the inhabitable climate change. Team America just in general, like, yes, it was making fun of like American interventionism, but it went on to actually say like, well, but American military strength is a good thing.
Yeah. The Film Actors Guild.
Yeah.
What does that spell?
I've gotten in some trouble in the past for saying that Team America is a movie that's fundamentally about how good the war on terror is. Like, I tweeted about that years ago, and folks got mad at me. They said I was stupid, that I was dumb.
They went after Richard Dawkins and atheism really hard. It was around the time that Trey had done an interview where he was like, I'm not an atheist.
Are either of you religious at all? No. Depends on what, I consider myself religious, but it would take me a long time to explain it to you, You believe in God? Yeah.
You probably don't remember because it was a more recent episode, but Cartman's safe space. He needed a safe space. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry with the Worldwide Privacy Tour.
That was funny.
PC Principle in general, PC Babies. I remember there was during the episode with they had like Randy Savage was a trans woman. PC Principle wasn't comfortable with it, but it was really like, went against his orthodoxy. And he was like, do you think the PC Babies will understand the nuance of the situation?
Do you think the PC Babies will see the nuance?
You know how they are. They're babies. Their minds are made up before anyone says anything.
Even like going way back, like Saving the Rainforest is stupid. Harbucks Coffee, if you remember like the first Tweak episode ever with Underpants Gnomes. Like the conclusion of the episode is like this coffee corporation is way better than these shitty small town coffee companies.
Because without big corporations, we wouldn't have things like cars and computers and canned soup. Even Harbucks Coffee started off as a small little business, but because it made such great coffee and because they ran their business so well, they managed to grow and grown until it became the corporate powerhouse it is today.
Another more recent one, Banned in China, where they were going hard on China. Douche and turd. I don't want to vote for anybody at all. They all suck. Defending of the gay slur, the F word. Pajama Day with Matt. They were saying, like making fun of people that wanted you to wear masks and judged you if you didn't wear a mask.
What's going on, Mike?
Well, what do you mean?
You're not wearing pajamas.
Oh, yeah. I didn't really want to wear pajamas.
We're all wearing pajamas.
The Islam stuff, of course, right? Like Caitlyn Jenner, Stunning and Brave. How many boxes do I have to check? There was the big anti-bullying thing that went on for a while. They made fun of that. It's one of the funniest songs in South Park history, in my opinion. It's Make Bullying Kill Itself. A whole season about like Whole Foods and we're respectable people. We need a Whole Foods.
Ready to fit in with the most progressive towns in America. This is South Park. Welcome home.
Got the N-word episode, of course. Hillary Clinton and the snook and her sniz. Not to mention, like, Book of Mormon ends up being, like, pretty pro-religion by the end of the show. That's my Bush pulls punch. Like, their whole, yes, it's, like, about George Bush, but, like, it doesn't even once make fun of George Bush.
The botched, when Trump won the presidency and they had to, like, recut the first, gentlemen's, the almost first gentlemen's. And it's Cosby and Bill Clinton,
I think it's fucking ridiculous that anybody is going to stand here after 27 years. This is just like, it makes me depressed, DJ, actually. That you can do something consistently for 27 years and some young cunt will walk up and be like, I don't think you ever make fun of progressives. And you're like, why? You're like, never made fun of Joe Biden. And that's it. That's all the evidence you need.
These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass.
I mean, I'm kind of like, it would be fun to see what they would have done.
Sure.
That's like in another universe. That would be cool to see because I think it would be funny.
Well, they're making those stupid specials, and the special, I think that Trey and Matt have two gears. One is like episode of the week, throw stuff at the wall, trying to make it work, and the other gear is like perseverating, obsessive, quality control. Book of Mormon, South Park the movie, Team America, that intensity that they get into. I don't think we have a middle gear, and I think the specials ended up being produced more like the kind of like episode of the week, but it took maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks to make them instead. And I think that like a lot of those kind of spontaneous ideas and just trying to make it work in the writer's room real quick under a deadline works way better for 22 minutes than it does for 45 minutes, I think. Because if the narrative doesn't really come together, which, I think it's really common for South Park episodes to have like one core joke, like one recurring joke. And a lot of times, like either like if that thing works, the episode's very memorable. And if it doesn't really work that great, the episode kind of suffers. Well, if it doesn't really work that great, and it's only 22 minutes, the effect is less. Yeah. 45 minutes is a long time. Yeah. So you want to talk a little bit about this episode? So the conceit of it is Clyde Donovan has a podcast, and it's basically Nick Fuentes.
I think that's what they were going for.
What the hell do you think you're doing, Clyde? We're here speaking the truth about the Jews or the other privileged white class. That's my shtick!
But like he's going for the Charlie Kirk Award, who's another, the Christian nerd who's like, does the debates on campus.
Loud on the internet.
All of that was coded into your deoxyribonucleic acid at the moment that you were a zygote. And so that human deserves constitutional and human rights.
Let me ask you something. If a pregnant woman is killed and the baby dies too, why is the killer charged with a double homicide?
Well, because people have different beliefs. And
it's not about belief. It's about truth. So
Clyde is like doing these kind of Steven Crowder, change my mind, debate on campus in the quad type of stuff with South Park Elementary. But he's doing it to pay, because he needs to pay his nut. Because everybody's got a nut they got to pay.
So, as a kid, if you could do a podcast, say some really divisive shit, then you could make your nut.
Well, Clyde, there's more important things than a nut, okay?
Is this a real thing? Like, I don't know these terms. They must have like teenage kids now, so they can.
I've heard this before. I who I've heard it from a lot, and it was many years ago. Was Kevin Smith.
Oh, okay.
Like this way, everybody gets paid their nut. I gotta make my nut, man. One's nut is
like your subscription services.
Is the amount they owe every month for living. Whether it be $8,000 a month or $12,000 a month.
Here it appears you've got about an $8,000 a month nut. $8,000 a month? I had no idea my nut was that big.
The episode never really explores any of like the side that's listening to his podcast, which is kind of interesting. Like they don't make fun of or show like who's even listening to the guy in the first place.
Yeah, why they are popular, they don't really, it's more like, we know of this, it's popular, let's laugh at it.
Yeah. They had a good opener, which was like, it was Kyle and Wendy, like, can you believe what he said about Jews? And can you believe what he said about women and abortion? And Cartman's like, who, guys? And you assume they're talking about Cartman, like, Clyde. Which I thought was fun. Yeah, I do think that's funny because, the Overton window, it really, it's a joke about the Overton window. It's about like things that were unacceptable. Cartman's ideas are becoming mainstream, basically. And so Cartman feels robbed. So we all thought for sure, like they're going to flip Cartman, make him woke.
Yeah, I thought they were going to make him woke because that would be the more subversive thing in a world that's more like Trumpian, quote unquote. Being more woke would be the subversive thing to do.
Doubling down on wokeness right now would be pretty subversive, actually. Like if you went full tilt with pronouns and all the rest, that'd be pretty. Like if you went real 2019 on the whole thing, that could be fun. That could be pretty funny, actually.
Mr. Yamashiro is actually a very good driver. Microaggression. Hit him. Nice, kid. Very nice indeed. Using the term actually inferred that maybe other Asian Americans are not good drivers, and the use of Mr. is offensive to persons of third gender.
So maybe they'll do that still. I mean, they got a lot of episodes. I think they have to make like 8 more of these things.
There was 2 weeks in between, which is good for our schedule. But
They didn't announce why the delay. There was one other time they had a delay. It was due to a power outage at South Park Studios. But then I was telling Nina, I was like, they're going to be delayed. And she said, due to the tragedy in Hawaii, which is a very deep callback. Many years ago when Osimo came out. Remember Osimo? One of the best episodes ever, actually. Probably a top 10, right? And Butters gets a robot in the mail, but it's Cartman in a cardboard box. And then he was going to prank Butters, find out all the secrets by pretending to be a robot. And then turns out Butters has a secret about Cartman, and Cartman has to stay the robot the whole time. And he's like eating toothpaste in the bathroom because he's not allowed to eat because Butters like, oh, you silly robot. The robots don't eat. They had been promoting that they were going to do an entire Lemmy-Winks episode. And they had one in the works. And they were like, next week on an all-new South Park on Comedy Central, Lemmy-Winks in his own episode. And they just showed like a little bit of footage from like a past episode. And then there's a bumper. It's not on the DVD or anything like that to this day. But there was a bumper before Osimo. And it was Trey Parker's voice. And it was black with white text on it. And they go, due to the tragedy in Hawaii, the Lemmy-Winks episode that was planned for tonight will not air. Instead, please enjoy this slightly better episode called Osimo. And I was like, what the fuck was the tragedy in Hawaii? I remember I listened to the commentary and they did not acknowledge the tragedy in Hawaii. But it turned out they were at a friend's wedding in Hawaii.
Oh, okay.
And then one of our friends named Dave decided to get married during our little 3-day break, which is all we get during our whole run. And so we had to rush down to Hawaii for his wedding and then rush back and finish this episode. So
maybe they had another tragedy in Hawaii. Who knows? So then Mr. Mackey gets laid off because they decide they don't need counselors anymore. So he needs a job because he's got a nut to pay. And he's going to the bank, and it's like that episode, the Margaritaville episode where they're going, the guy who goes, and it's gone.
Yes, and your net's up to about $12,000 a month.
What? But my nut was only $8,000 a week ago.
He joins ICE. The joke is that ICE will take anybody.
If you need a job, it's a job to have.
And, as it doesn't matter how dumb or fat or stupid or incarcerated you are.
Yeah. I think the ICE trailer was probably my favorite part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Kristi Noem kills a dog within the trailer there.
She's in charge, and her face keeps collapsing because she's got the Botox. And by the end of the episode, the face is on the ground crawling around.
It's so lazy to just constantly make fun of women for how they look. If they wanted to criticize my job, go ahead and do that. But clearly they can't. They just pick something petty like that.
And at one point, somebody was like, there's probably a lot of Latinos in heaven. And then the ICE rated heaven, which got a big pop out of me.
It did feel like the Debate Me Bro stuff or the Charlie Kirk stuff felt pretty half-baked, like very, very surface level. Like they knew, like, oh, this is something that's popular. Let's like make fun of it. But without really, like, if I made like I haven't seen baseball in 20 years, and I like gleaned some stuff off of Twitter and started telling baseball jokes on the podcast. People were like, "You're a fraud," and you'd be right. And so that's what it kind of feels like. Like they would have to dip their toe into right-leaning spaces to learn about this stuff, which I don't think they would ever do. So it's like kind of a very surface level, like, haha, isn't it funny that this is happening kind of thing.
Yeah,
Which
I listened to Charlie Kirk. He did like a talk afterwards about it.
But putting the mic down, that is pure. And the girl reading off the phone, by the way, with like the angry, like lib face.
And the big takeaway is like, oh my God, like we must be so culturally relevant that we're now in a South Park episode. JD Vance tweeted like, I've made it.
Yeah.
Because they had him in there.
Would you like me to apply the baby oil to Satan's asshole, boss?
But yeah, I suppose that's kind of part of the problem / reality of it, which is like Charlie Kirk has become he's gotten so much notoriety that South Park is like, who's this guy? And wants to make fun of him.
Yeah, they got his mannerisms from what I can tell. I really haven't seen much, but I noticed the water going down, putting the cap on, and putting the microphone down. And
again, it's like the animators were the kind of the star of this one. So Cartman decides to compete against Clyde. Clyde is saying a lot of anti-Jew stuff in particular.
You don't know a thing about the Jewish people.
Yeah, and shut up about girls' bodies.
Well, that sounds like a very female-led Jew thing to say.
Cartman only goes for anti-abortion stuff. So already it's kind of like, well, wait a minute, but Cartman's been like an anti-Semite like his whole life. Also, Charlie Kirk, who he's portraying, is actually like a big pro-Israel guy.
And when you declare war on Israel, expect a firestorm in reaction. Let me finish, I let you talk.
Then there's like Nick Fuentes, who's like a total anti-Semite.
Yeah, or Candace Owens, who's more of the grifter type.
Yeah, so to your point, they see it all as the same thing, which is like conservative podcast grifter. Would it have been funnier to just do Ben Shapiro at this rate? I mean, he's a funnier cartoon character, I feel like.
Yeah, I think he would be. I think he would have been funnier. Again, they probably would have to know something about Ben Shapiro, which they probably don't.
And Charlie Kirk, like he's kind of freakish. Like he's got the small face and the bizarre hair and the big gums and stuff. Like I feel like you could have made him a lot more clownish.
Yeah, he's definitely an odd guy, and he's kind of a nerd. There's something you could make fun of with him.
But they're trying to make it fit this Cartman narrative. And then I'm like, well, does Cartman again? Like Cartman's is the most character-based thing that he would do is just double down on his like conservatism. Is Cartman? The other thing about Cartman is he's a huge bigot, but he's also a huge victim.
We all wrongly see ourselves as the victim sometimes, but Cartman sees himself as the victim all the time.
So he kind of has. I think he exhibits all of the worst behaviors of every kind of person.
Yeah.
I believe that what you have is anxiety.
Anxiety? Is that key?
It's pretty common these days. What it really is more than anything is an excuse to be lazy and lame to everyone around you.
Oh my God, that's perfect.
So I don't even know necessarily. I'm like, oh yeah, Cartman's he is a conservative. In the first episode, he's like, I hate hippies.
The Democrats have passed a lot of laws trying to stop us from hunting. Democrats piss me off.
By the way, that's another one. The hippie episode.
Hippies.
This is a whole episode about hating on college libs and hippies. But Biden, they didn't do Biden.
Look, Pat, here's the deal.
Maybe they thought he's an old man. It would be kind of punching down in a way because he's just a sleepy.
I think they
old
were
man.
avoiding mainstream politicians for a little while, Trump included. Like they kind of even took him out of the picture for a bit.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Again, I think they only did Trump when they thought he was going to lose an election in 2016, and then when he didn't, he's not in the show. Like they stopped doing Trump after that. But I think I don't know. At some point, it feels because people are like, oh, I think they're partisan and stuff. I'm like, don't you think at a certain point though, like if at this point, like Trump influences the culture so much on a day-to-day basis. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it be kind of partisan to be like, we're going to ignore him in your satire, in your cultural political satire?
Yeah.
At this point. But then to their point, they're like, well, then why not? Yeah, fine, but why not Biden? It's like, well, because of timing, mostly.
Timing.
Then we're going to watch the debate, and then tomorrow I'm doing 9/11.
It is a little bit funny and absurd for like ICE to like raid a Dora the Explorer thing.
I forgot about that. That was funny.
It seemed a little scattershot. My favorite stuff was still the Kristi Noem stuff because she's fucking weird. But
Yeah, they definitely went after her more than anything else.
I think there's something about her that really ignites the imagination. Somebody was like, would people even know who Kristi Noem is? And that's kind of a fair point. It's if you didn't know about that news story about like her writing the book and having that thing about the dog, it'd be pretty absurd. You might not know. But for me, who knew the story, I thought that was pretty funny. So.
I was thinking about like, obviously I just went over all the times they made fun of progressives, but when the show first aired, it was who were the ones railing against it? It was the Catholic League. It was religious groups.
To be using third graders and to put their filthy, rotten, disgusting behavior and sense of humor into the package of third grade animated characters and to air it at a time of day when kids are up in droves and can watch this stuff is unconscionable.
Remember Bowling for Columbine? Matt Stone was in Bowling for Columbine. And then they got really mad because they felt like Michael Moore misrepresented their position because they're actually libertarians that are into guns.
He asked us if we would do an animated thing for him, and we were like, we grew up in Colorado. Our parents have guns. It's just like, whatever.
But they wanted to interview Matt because he was from Littleton or he was from Columbine. I remember in that movie, they do like a compilation of Michael Moore's like, here's all the people they blame for gun violence. And it's like Marilyn Manson, rock music, rap music.
Heavy metal subculture. Where were the parents?
Violent movies.
And then some politics, it was like it was a little montage. And some woman goes, South Park.
South Park. Video games. Television.
Nina and I, every time, like, if we ever were gonna like watch the show, invariably one of us will be like, would you like to watch South Park? Yeah, I remember somebody back then said like, it's the end of democracy.
When we came out, people were like, "Oh my God, this is the end of the world."
Don't let your kids watch this show. It's the end. We got one review that was the end of democracy.
Is that right?
Yeah, this was 1998.
But it was definitely like conservative, buttoned up America that was pushing back against it, or that they were pushing against. And then I think sometime in the next couple of years after that, progressivism really won the culture for a while, and now like this kind of new conservative thing is re-winning, or at the very least like really adversarial to the mainstream culture.
Yeah, and I think it's fine to make fun of it. The way they're making fun of a lot of things just feels like they're not even tuned in at all, and so like the satire isn't as effective for me.
Yeah, no, I get you.
And that's why the Kristi Noem stuff works for me, because it is tuned in. It knows a little bit about her.
Yeah, there's some inside baseball. Yeah, that's a good point. I would feel better if there was a story.
Yeah,
The story, now it's 2 episodes where there basically was none. It was kind of like a series of sketches. And having an extra week to try to get a story together, I don't know. If nothing else, I'm very interested. Like, I'm very compelled by like the meta story of this season, the strange... I just feel like South Park has never, it's been many years since there was so much to say or think about South Park, even when it's missing.
But if you're doing something you don't really believe in, just to make your nut, you're gonna find that you just get sadder and your nut just gets bigger.
Subscribe to Red Cow Entertainment on Patreon for full episodes every other week.
These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass.